Hey everyone, it's Emily here, and today I am talking about my goals for 2016. So, most of my goals have to do with reading and booktube, so I'm going to cover those first, and then I'll talk about a couple of my own personal goals for the year. So, I've been on YouTube for a couple of years now, but I've only been doing booktube kind of officially for a year. But I never really did a booktube introduction for some reason because I already was kind of doing booktube, but not really. And I also do other videos other than books, even though books are my main focus. And so it's all kind of weird, and I wasn't really sure if maybe I should do a booktube introduction, but I've been doing it for a while now, so that didn't really make sense. So this is kind of just me being like, okay, new year, let's really be serious about this booktube thing and be sure that I'm doing good quality videos with books and figuring out where I want to go with it. And so one of the things I really want to do is actually talk about books. When I look back at my videos, I notice a lot of times, especially in my wrap-ups and stuff, I tend to be like, oh, and I read this book, and I liked it, the end, and then I move on because I've been really afraid of videos being too long, and I don't want to bore everyone. But at the same time, the point of booktube is to talk about books and to share my opinion on books. So I really want to do that more and really share my thoughts and opinions on books that I've read and different topics that have to do with books and really dig into them. I don't want them to be all like 15-minute videos or anything, of course, but I also don't want to sacrifice quality for shorter videos either. I also want to be more connected to the booktube community. I think I've gotten a decent start at it, but I know I could do a whole lot more. And I do try to watch everyone's videos, but then I end up getting like super behind, and so then I'll just kind of like rush through videos and not comment, or I'll just kind of like skip a bunch of them and all of that, and I really want to work on that more and get more connected. And then this year I'm going to have a TBR jar. Well, it's going to be a TBR wine glass because I don't have a jar. Basically, on my iPad and on my bookshelves, I have tons and tons of books I've had for some of them literally years, and I've not touched them. I have not read them, and I don't know why. And it's really not even just the typical booktuber, like, oh, I have so many books, I'm never going to get to them all. Like, it's not even funny anymore. It's really, really bad, and I need to get through some of these books and actually read them. And so I put 13 of them in my wine glass, and I'm going to read one a month. I have 13 in here, so 12, just in case there's one book where I'm like, I absolutely don't want to read that, or it's a flop, or something. I just wanted to have one as a backup. So here are the books that I'm going to read throughout the year that are in this jar. We have The Thornbirds by Colleen McLeod. I think that's how you say her name. This is one of my best friend's favorite book, like, of all time. She loves this book, and we used to watch the miniseries in college all the time, and I just never read it. And I picked this up at a used bookstore maybe like a year ago, and I still haven't read it. The Once and Future King by T.H. White. This was recommended to me by a friend a couple years ago as well when I was looking for book recommendations, and it sounded really awesome because it's fantasy, it's King Arthur, and all the things that I love, but for some reason I just never read it. Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. It's a fantasy, sci-fi, dystopian-y classic, and there's a movie, and I haven't read it. The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith, aka J.K. Rowling. Why haven't I read a book written by the Queen yet? Why? Heartless by Gail Carriger. This is the 4th book in the Parasol Protector series, and I read the first 3 books, and I liked them, and then I picked up the 4th one, but then didn't read it. Cold Mountain by Charles Frazier. This is another book that is a favorite of one of my really, really good friends, and I just haven't read it yet, and it looks really good, and I've heard it's good, and the movie supposedly is really good. Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. I know, I haven't read Shadow and Bone yet. I know. The Passing Bells by Philip Rock. This book I saw at Barnes & Noble a couple years ago. I mean, on the book cover it says, before there was Downton Abbey, there was Abingdon Priory, I think is how you say it. I don't know. But basically, there's a series of these books. I think it's like a trilogy. And basically, it's people like, if you like Downton Abbey, you will like this series. And then I was like, okay, I like Downton Abbey, but I didn't read the book. Rose Under Fire by Elizabeth Wayne. I loved Codename Verity. Loved, loved, loved Codename Verity. So of course I had to get the sequel. Why I didn't read the sequel, I don't know. Courtesies and Conspiracies by Gail Carriger. It's my second book by this author, and it's the second book in the Finishing School trilogy. And again, no reason why I haven't read it yet. There's no reason. Evolving in Monkey Town by Rachel Held Evans. This is a nonfiction book, and basically it just says how a girl who knew all the answers learned to ask the questions. And so it's a book about faith and asking questions about faith and the Bible and all that stuff. I've read a book by Rachel Held Evans before, and I really, really liked it. And I've read her blog a couple times. I really like her, and I've heard this book is fantastic, and I just hadn't read it yet. And finally, Uglies by Scott Westerfeld. I have heard so much about the Uglies trilogy and how it's so fantastic and wonderful, and for some reason, I've never read it. It's on my iPad, and I need to get to it. And finally, White Oleander by Janet Finch. This is another one of my really good friends' all-time favorite book. This is actually her old copy, as you can tell. It's very well loved. It's a very well loved book. She had thought she had lost this book, so she had replaced it, and then she found it, and she was like, well, I have a second copy now, so do you want it? And I was like, sure. And so, again, I need to read this book, and I really love reading books that are favorites of my close friends, because I feel like it kind of gives you insight into them, and you can kind of see them in the books that they like. And so I really want to read White Oleander. So yeah, so those are the books that I want to read this year. Like, there are tons of other books on my shelves and my iPad that I need to get to, and I just haven't yet, but those are kind of like the most desperate, worst one that's taken me way too long to get to. And so I will read one of those a month. And then I also want to do a more diverse books project. Kirsty did one last year where she wanted to read 50 diverse books through the year. So basically the Diverse Books Project is to read books that aren't just about white people who are straight and able-bodied. Like, there are so many other types of people out there in the world, and we should read stories about them. And so she wanted to do 50 books. I am not quite that ambitious because she read about 400 books last year. I'm nowhere close to that. So I would rather have a goal of trying to read at least one diverse book a month. And obviously I would like to do more, but at least one a month. Because I just really want to expand my reading horizons, and there were some books that she talked about that looked really, really good. If you guys have any suggestions on diverse books, I would love to hear them, because I really want to try and like read some really good quality ones, and then also particularly ones about people with disabilities. I tend to be really picky about books about people with disabilities, and I want to see what is out there. And I will warn you, the only book where I've really been like, yes, that's how it is, I can relate so well, is The Fault in Our Stars. And so, just putting that out there, but if any types of diverse books at all and your recommendations, please let me know. And then my final booktube goal and reading goal is to be more creative in my videos. I love doing tags, I love doing wrap-ups and TBRs and all that kind of stuff, but I do want to expand my horizons a little bit more. So if there are particular types of videos you want me to do in addition to kind of the normal stuff I've done, let me know. And then finally, I don't really do New Year's resolutions a whole lot like I did when I was a kid and in high school and stuff, but you know, those never actually happen. Like, no one really keeps their resolutions very well. But I do have a goal for myself this year, so I guess it's kind of a resolution, and I want to revise and rewrite this draft of my novel that I finished back in October. I have a couple people who have a copy of that draft who hopefully will be getting back to me soon about their thoughts and their opinions on it, and I want to get revisions and rewrites done on that, so that way I can start pitching literary agents about my novel. So that is my big goal for the year. It's a really big goal, but I totally think it's attainable because I got the draft done, and I know if I really focus, I can get the second draft, a more polished and clean draft, done as well. So, yeah. Anyway, that is what I want to do in 2016. I want to hear about your goals and what you want to do, and also hear all of your book recommendations for the Diverse Books Project. And I will see you later. Bye.